Greetings and welcome to week 8 of COMM 110, Fundamentals of Public Speaking. Once you have delivered your informative speeches next week, we will have reached the halfway point in our semester and in our course. But before you do that next week, this week we have one more bit of knowledge and set of concepts in one chapter that you're going to be reading and learning about before we finally get to what we have been building towards all semester, which is your first major speech, the informative speech. And so this week we have just a single chapter, chapter 14, and that chapter is dealing with the last set of ideas that you need to have some background in before you deliver your first major speech, and that is the subject of delivery. We've been building up over the last several weeks with all of the building blocks of what you need to know and what skills you need to have in order to deliver a major speech. We've looked at research, we've looked at selecting topics. Just last week, we looked at creating introductions and conclusions, which are really crucial elements of a speech, and we looked at outlining, which is also a very crucial skill to have in creating the content of your speech. This week we're going to be looking at delivery, learning some things about vocal aspects of delivery, physical aspects of delivery, and just some ideas about that moment when you are actually giving the speech to your audience after all of the other things that we've been looking at in all these other chapters, which have been all of the preparation leading up to that moment. And of course, that preparation process you are or will be by the end of this week at least deep into, and that is why we have no other coursework this week other than just that one chapter, chapter 14, and the accompanying reading quiz. We don't have any discussion forum. We don't have a second chapter and reading quiz as we normally do. And because what you should be doing with your time this week that you would normally be spending on those other things is making some progress in the preparation of your informative speech. We do have one other element, which is the heading for your informative speech. That is sort of part of the process of creating the materials for your informative speech, though. And I'll say a little bit more about that here in just a few moments. So as far as the process of preparation for your informative speech, this past week you settled on your specific topic for your speech after having discussed your two finalists in the discussion forum. So you have picked your specific topic. You should have already moved on or be moving on this week to doing your research. And remember, you need to have both online sources as well as offline or traditional print library sources in your works cited for all of your major speeches. There's a couple of reasons why I do that. One is because I want you to be looking at or finding a variety of different types of sources. I don't want you to just do a Google search, a day or two before you deliver the speech, and use all sources that you find online. And of course, we went over research concepts here a few weeks back, and the idea of finding quality sources, whether online or offline. There are good sources online and bad sources online. There are good sources in terms of traditional print sources, and there are bad sources in terms of traditional print sources. So part of what goes into this whole preparation process and my evaluation of how you've done with it is looking at the quality of the sources that you've picked in your research. So your research should be underway or will very shortly be underway. You should also having your specific topic picked and having begun your research, be zeroing in on, if not already having picked, your organizational pattern that you are going to use for your informative speech. We learned about those a couple of weeks ago, and the basic ones that you're probably going to pick from for the informative speech are the spatial organizational pattern, the chronological organizational pattern, and the topical organizational pattern. There are a few other ones that you can use if you want. They're a little bit more complex, such as the pro-con org pattern, the cause and effect org pattern, and one or two others that we learned about as being suitable organizational patterns for informative speeches. So that organizational pattern is going to be one of the key elements in the heading for your speech. Now, when you submit all of your preparation materials to me after you've delivered your speech, and in conjunction with uploading the video file for your speech, part of your outline is going to be a heading that has the topic of the speech, the general purpose, the specific purpose, the thesis statement, and the organizational pattern. That will be at the top of your outline, your content outline for your speech that you'll be handing in to me. But in advance of that, and as the other element for this week's coursework, you're going to be handing in just that heading by Sunday of this coming week, of this week's course plan on March 3rd. The reason why I have you hand in the heading all by itself in advance is that I want you to be forced to get at least that far in your preparation for your speech by that time, Sunday, 3 days or so before the speeches are due. By that time you have to at least be far enough in your preparation to have that heading completed. And the other reason is that I like to take a look at those headings so that if there's anything in the heading that isn't sort of gone terribly amiss or is just really not the way that it should be, I can give you some feedback on that, and you have time to make some modifications before you deliver and submit your speech in the middle of that following week. Like if you've picked an org pattern that's not an appropriate one, or if you have a thesis statement that just isn't in proper form, or these sorts of things. I have a chance to take a look at those. So there are a couple of examples in your textbook of headings for speeches that you should take a look at and use as your template for creating your own heading for your speeches. So take a look at those. And for everything, I always say this, but for everything in terms of your preparation process for your speeches, as well as any coursework you're having, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer questions, clarify things if you're not entirely clear about a particular concept or what you're supposed to be doing in a particular respect in terms of your speech preparation or so forth. There's just one final thing that I want to speak about for a moment or two, and this is sort of broadly applies to a number of things in the course, and I think that most people have been doing pretty well with this so far, but I just want to make sure that everybody is sort of on the same page as me with this. One of the things that people often lose points for in a variety of different things in the course is submitting things that do not have enough substance in them. They're not substantive enough. In other words, where you need to have a certain amount of substance, you maybe have just a sentence or two, or in the longer things, there's just not enough material there. And I'm talking about, first of all, discussion postings. You need to make sure that your discussion postings are substantive enough. And a rule of thumb that I always say is that if your posting in the discussion forum is shorter than my little introduction that I give for the discussion topic, then you probably don't have enough substance. Don't be afraid to go into a fair amount of detail and really address the discussion topics that we have in these discussion forums. The speaker critiques is another thing. I have graded and returned your first speaker critiques, which most of you have probably seen your grades for already, but in there too, in the speaker critiques, you want to make sure that you have enough substance. Those papers should be about 2 pages in length. So if you are handing in something that is only 1 page in length, or a little over a page in length, you probably don't have enough substance in that paper. And then a couple of things that are going to be coming up for you next week for the first time that you haven't done yet, but you will be doing after you've submitted your informative speech, is your peer critiques that you'll be doing of classmates' speeches and your self-critique that you'll be doing of your own speech. Here too, in these critiques, you want to make sure that you have enough substance, that you're not writing just 1 or 2 sentences, that you're giving enough material and enough substance that you are addressing the things that need to be addressed in first the peer critiques where you're critiquing your classmates' speeches, and then in your self-critique where you're critiquing your own speech. So let me know if you have any questions about any of these things, especially as we get into this week where we're going to be where you are going to be really digging into those preparations for next week's informative speech.